What's going on, everyone? This is your host, Sean Johnson, creator of Bench Minor Hockey, and welcome to episode number 18 of the Bench Minor Hockey Podcast. This is the hockey podcast that covers single A hockey news and stories from players and staff. And if you are listening to us on Apple Podcasts, be sure to follow us. Or if you're watching the video series on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And today's guest, Mr. Christopher Marsillo. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Of course, I'm doing pretty well. I'm really glad you reached out. I haven't seen you in years, so catch me up. What's going on?
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, I saw, your podcast taking off and I saw a couple of my old buddies and friends hopping on there. So I was like, "Ooh, what's going on?" And then I saw it was you. I was like, "Oh, I know that guy." So I was like, "Let me reach out." So it's perfect.
Yeah, for those that don't know, we spent a little bit of time together in Watertown. Mr. Marcillo had a couple stints in H2O town with the Wolves, so we got to hang out for a little bit.
That's true. I don't miss the snow, but I miss pretty much everything else. So
Right. Well, speaking of Watertown, and I mean, you're a former Fed player. You played a couple teams, Northern Federals. I don't even want to talk about that one, but Watertown Wolves, Carolina Thunderbirds, Binghamton. Let's talk about your career a little bit. So, walk us through your Fed career so far.
sure, yeah. Right after my college season ended, I did 2 years at SUNY Ken and then 3 years at Rutgers. There was an opportunity to help out the Fed when one of the teams went down, Cornwall. So
Right.
that was my first stop in the Fed. I got to play a game or two with the Federales, and that was my foot in the door. Good experience. And from there, I got in with Watertown, I think the year after. And then I was at a couple main camps with them, a couple games during the year. And then I think the year after that, I ended up going out to Vegas to work and stay with some family, and I started practicing with the Vegas Knights, which was pretty cool. That was in the summer, some unofficial practices, and was like, wow, I love this, and I could keep up. So I wanted to go back, and when I went back home, there was another chance to go with the Watertown Wolves again, and kind of got my foot back in, and then kind of moved around a little, and then the next year I think it was Binghamton for a little bit, and then got a game with Carolina too at the end of the year, and then I ended up getting some practices with the Devils on their game day skates with their healthy scratches and some of their guys returning, so that was pretty cool too. Got to skate with a lot of my favorite players that I got to be around, which was awesome, and same with Vegas too. It was cool being around those guys, and they got to hook me up with some stuff and learned a lot. And being around, the top guys, got to learn a lot of, how the speed is at that level and how to adjust and kind of take it from there. And then I had an opportunity to go play in France for the top roller league, and I ended up taking that. So that's where I am now. I'm up in the Normandy region. It's called Caen, and it's pretty historic. We got like castles everywhere, and we got a pretty good team. We got some ice guys, we got some roller guys, and we pretty much play just the top teams in France, and they can recruit, throughout the country. So, for example, we just played Villeneuve or Villeneuve. I don't even know how to pronounce it, but they're pretty much
Right.
just the French national team with like the Czech goalie who just won the World Cup, and just teams like that are just it's pretty awesome. There's some pro ice guys on their team too, and it's pretty exciting. I get to practice Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and we play one game on Saturdays. And the schedule is
Right.
pretty nice. It started in September and it went till December, and we had a holiday they call it, and then I just got back in January. So now we're on our second half of the season, and this will go until April. So
Oh,
it's
right
pretty
on.
cool.
It's pretty well. It kind of lines right up with ice hockey, then, right? I mean, the season at
Yeah,
least.
it's good.
So I was actually going to ask you, um, as far as ice hockey goes, you're a goaltender, but I saw a picture of you playing roller hockey. And what are you, a forward?
Play everything. For
You play everything.
the top team here, I play goalie, but I also tried out as a defenseman, and I got a couple shifts, but the team was pretty set, and that was a blowout game anyway. So it was just pretty much to get some experience. But then since I brought my gear out here, there's many teams in the club. So we have an elite team, which is the top, and then there's basically like a B team, which I play a lot of games on too as a goalie and skater. And then
Mhm.
you know we had a couple goalies in the program, so I was skating out a lot more. But with some injuries, I had to get back in the net, so it's okay.
Yep.
But when I was home in the States, I play in the Professional Inline Hockey Association, and there's three levels to that. I played in the pro division for as a goalie, but I got some games in the playoffs last year too as a defenseman, and then I joined the Metro Militia, and they're a team based out of New Jersey. And with that roller hockey division, it's pretty interesting. You go basically play 4 or 5 games on a Saturday, and then you
Mhm.
take a few weeks off, and then you do it again, basically about 5, 6 times. So you get a bunch of games, but it's all packed in a day. So I think that's a pretty unique style. It's kind of like a tournament style where you got a lot of the teams all come and meet at one central location, and then just battle out for the standings, and then they have a playoffs, and then whoever wins the conference, usually they have nationals out west in like Colorado or California and
Mhm.
stuff like that. So I've been kind of getting into everything, but I was playing defense most recently in that league, which was pretty cool. Actually, offense too. Got a couple points, some good net drives, couple
Very
tap
nice.
ins, and some assists.
Very nice. Um,
It's
yeah,
fun.
I actually have to educate myself a little bit about inline and roller hockey because I know a lot of ice hockey guys actually play it now. Um,
Yeah,
that
it's
was actually be
awesome.
my next question. I don't know the differences between the leagues, but um, do you play in the same league as like Ryan Marker or Johnny Ruiz, those guys, or no?
Yep. Marker, especially he's actually looking to come out to France too if he can. I think uh, there's French Cup, which is like the top teams in France play each other, and I think if he's allowed or if he can, I think he's going to try out to come out here, but we'll see.
Gotcha, because he's also isn't he a Jersey boy just like you?
Yeah, but he's Southern Jersey, so almost like
Oh,
Philadelphia,
there's a huge
Pennsylvania.
difference or something?
Big difference, I'm sure.
Big
I'm sure
difference.
a couple
My
others
bad.
will say.
Oh yeah.
No, but
Didn't mean to
yeah,
offend
actually,
you or
that was
nothing.
pork roll, Taylor ham. It depends who you ask.
Oh goodness.
But
So
yeah,
take me back to practicing with the Devils and the Knights. Kind of talk about that experience. What was that like?
yeah, that was pretty cool. That was actually amazing. So I brought my gear out to Vegas because I definitely wanted to play, and I lived right across the street actually from the practice rink, and it was coming up on late summer, so a lot of those guys were coming back from their summer, or the local guys with families would stay. So it first started as just like it's like those skills sessions where they needed a goalie. So it was like Belmar and Reeves and
Mhm.
Marchessault and Pacioretty and Smith, and it was a small group. And just every day, every week, it just kept getting bigger right until training camp. And it was directed by the Hockey Canada director of hockey, Misha Donskov, and Gallant was the coach at the time, so he couldn't be on the ice, but he was able to like watch and be on the bench and be in the arena or be as close to the facility as possible. And uh, I got to just be around those guys. There was also some AHL players, some Coast guys, some SP guys that were local too. So it was like the first half would be like everybody mixed in. We'd do like some skills, and then the second half would be when like only the Knights would come out, but they didn't have a goalie at the time, so it was just me, which was pretty cool. And then Flurry was on the other end doing some bag skates with his goalie coach, but he didn't want to get in the net for this, so I took over for a little bit, which is pretty awesome, and got to meet those guys. And obviously they got dressed in their locker room, but some of the guys that were going to new teams like Ryan Carpenter and Pierre Edward Balmar, some other guys. We all shared the guest locker room, so ended up getting pretty close, for the summer with those guys, and pretty cool seeing, what they're up to off ice and how they prepare for practices and how competitive they are, even just in summer skates and everything. And
Mhm.
it was pretty cool. He ended up giving me some gloves and some sticks to take home, which was cool. And I'm a lefty, and Carpy gave me like bunch of righties, so I hooked up my best friend who I moved out there with. So he's still got a bunch of those left, and stuff like that was pretty cool. And just being able to skate with them, and it was just awesome. It was cool.
Definitely. I know you said that, you were at one end of the ice and Fleury was at the other end. Did you have a chance to interact with him at all or no?
Yeah, he was really nice, really cool guy. I did a couple skating drills with him, just because obviously if he's doing it, I figured why not? Why I definitely should too.
Right.
And then he was a great guy. And actually, Malcolm Subban came back too for the last couple weeks, and it was me and him, and we would scrimmage and play each other, and it would be it would be amazing. The puck movement from those guys was looked like a mix of professional football and professional soccer. Everything's like on a dime. Cross ice passes, drop passes, just everything was just like, okay, I've seen pro hockey, but this is elite. And that was just a pretty good wake up call to just see kind of like those guys in game action and just how well, they can execute plays, and really, really exciting. And obviously the shots were great, and just they were awesome guys too. And it was just a really good experience all around.
Right. When I talk to some other like single A hockey goalies, they kind of tell me like, "Oh, when we play at our level and we play in North America, people just take shots on us. It doesn't really matter from where. But once you get to the higher levels, like AAA, AHL, and even like Sweden, Europe, it's very organized. It's almost like an organized ballet. Like the timing has to be perfect, the placing has to be perfect. That's kind of what you're explaining to me right now. Same concept.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of to go off a little bit, I wasn't always a fan of soccer, but once I started to watch a little bit, I noticed kind of like, when the back end guys would lay balls nicely, or just kind of throw something through pretty precisely. That's what kind of got me into soccer too. And even though there's not as much action, when you do see those nice, pretty plays just kind of getting through, that's kind of the beauty of it. And it kind of makes me appreciate all sports too. And same with football, when you see like just a pass just laid right in there, just you're like, how did he get that there? And then just to see it on ice, and I think that's why I like hockey so much, is because it's like that's like every 3 seconds basically. It's like the whole game is
Hmm.
just very quick and on top of each other, but still like precisely spread out. And nice to see the timing and breakouts. And yeah, it's really like it makes me appreciate sports more, especially seeing like some of those like veteran guys. Like I was pretty surprised, like just seeing like how big like Reeves was, and like how like athletic those guys still are on the ice, and
Hmm.
the releases, and just everything was really good.
And do you still train with them from time to time since then, or no?
Well, since I ended up moving back east, I unfortunately didn't get to keep that opportunity. But
Hmm.
the skills coaches and practices I do in the summer are with a lot of pro guys from the area in New Jersey. And those coaches actually both got promoted to the New Jersey Devils skills coaches. So that's Ryan Murphy and Frankie Loftus, and they run the Devils skills drills basically. So when guys are rehabbing or guys are not playing that day, they'll go through 30, 45 minutes of drills with those guys, and it'll be small groups, and sometimes they don't have a goalie. So I was getting called up on game days to skate, which was pretty cool. So I met a lot of guys from the Devils that way too. And when I was home for break too, it was Palat's last day of rehab. So they asked me to come in, help him out. It was him, John Marino, uh, Miles Wood, a couple other guys too that were just getting back into it. Nathan Bastian, and Those guys are great, and it was really cool. Just help them out, but for them to thank me for being there is pretty cool too. It's like a win-win for both, and got to do some shootouts against John Gillies last year, and just kind of see like what the talent's like, and it was pretty cool. I ended up being right there. We went both 14 for 15. We both only gave up one, and I was like, all right, this is cool.
It's not
Yeah.
bad numbers right there. So between the Knights and between the Devils, who do you think challenged you the most?
First, I was gonna say Pacioretty or Marchessault, but this last time with New Jersey, they were working on their power play, and Palat was in that trigger spot, and they had to make like 2, 3 passes and then get it to him. And I was making a couple saves, but some of the snipes were just ridiculous. Like so it was my first time on the ice too for a bit, and I definitely did well. But like they can hit it when they're looking, and it's a good adjustment and it's a good learning lesson for me. And
Mhm.
it was nice. They just invited me back 2 days ago, but unfortunately I couldn't make that one. But I think once I'm back in the States, there'll be some more opportunities, which will be good.
Absolutely, you'll definitely have to keep in touch with them so you can continue to be challenged by those high level players right there.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah. It's
I'm not trying to compare like apples to oranges, but going from a goalie in the Fed, taking on some of the best shooters in the Fed, transitioning over to like skill set with NHL players, how does that differ? Like, I know there's a huge difference, but can you kind of go through the differences and what they're like?
yeah, sure. I guess just to start off, just single A professional hockey, the Fed or the SP, like these guys are great. It's obviously what they love to do. It's their job. It's their life. Uh, Everybody's extremely talented at that level. And then when I got the opportunity to, be around NHL talent, uh, there's just definitely a level up for sure. But it definitely is great to see, like, in the Fed, there's, guys that played in the NHL, guys that played in the Coast, the AHL. And once you are good, you're good. So it's funny to hear like some people talk down on these leagues, like they think it's a glorified beer league or whatever, and they have no idea. Like the Fed alone, like even as a fan, you see a lot of action, you see a lot of shots, you see a lot of good quality chances, usually high scoring, and I wonder why that is too. I wonder with the structure why it's a little bit maybe slower at the higher levels, but still, way faster. But I just I just feel like when I am around like even the European levels, it just everything looks a little different, but you could tell how good everybody is, and it's pretty great.
Right. Yeah, like we talked before, it's just here in single A North America, just everyone's taking shots on goal, shots on goal. I mean, in the Fed, we have like, what's the minimal shots per night? I would say probably 30 minimal. Sometimes we hit 40, 50. I think we've seen 60. So,
Yeah.
and then you look at like NHL numbers, you're like, oh, he had 24 saves tonight. Oh, he had 18 saves tonight. They're taking quality shots. They're waiting for the timing and so on and so forth. So I know exactly what you're saying. Goalies have a tough job in the Fed and SP, let me tell you.
Why? That's for sure.
So I want to talk a little bit about a few teams that you've played with in the Fed real quick. Um,
Yeah.
I know you were with Watertown for a couple stints. Um, I'm not really going to touch base on Northern Federals too much because that's a whole story. That's like a whole podcast in itself for the Northern Federals. For those that don't know about the Northern
Yeah.
Federals, basically when the Cornwall Nationals ceased operations in the middle of the season, the league had to come up with a makeshift team, and they kind of just, I want to say called random people, but I mean we had a few random people, and I think we even loaned, yeah, we loaned Dallas Ingram from Watertown. He played goalie one night for the Northern Federals, if that tells you anything. But
Man.
you played with Watertown, you played with Carolina, you played with Binghamton. Um, what are some of your experiences? What city did you like the most, and why? Talk about the fan bases.
Oh yeah. Well, I definitely loved everywhere I got to play. I definitely have great memories from everywhere. The teams, the staff, the players, the fans. Definitely in Watertown, it was treated awesome. Have a couple shout outs over there. They know who they are, but I'm sure Stephanie and Kayla, they were always so nice to me, and it was really nice to get that support, but also just it was great being there, and the town took care of us, and we always had something to do or something to eat, and the sisters too were awesome, and just I really enjoyed it there. It was great because it was kind of up in the freezing cold, so it definitely felt like a hockey Canadian small town, and it wasn't too far from home, so I was able to go home when I needed to, but that was awesome because the year before they'd won the Commissioner's Cup, and I was just proud to be a part of a team with a winning culture and be around some great players and some legends of the league and some great coaches, and got a couple wins there. I think I went maybe 1-4, 1-5. It wasn't great, but it was a tough time in that season too. There was a lot of injuries, a lot of call ups, so that was
Mm-hmm.
right around the Christmas time, and it was just it's hard to get to those levels, but it's even harder to stay. So it was definitely a wake up call of how much harder I have to work and how much more I have to put into it if I want to stay and be consistent at that level. And it was good. I met some great people that were able to be some friends, that I still talk to today, and I was able to be a good locker room guy, I think, and I think that helped me kind of get around to some other opportunities. And then I ended up going to Binghamton, which was pretty great. A lot of the same kind of guys from Watertown. It felt like a Watertown 2.0 pretty much. And
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
that was an awesome rink, awesome fans, awesome team. They were right there for, top of the league, and just started the season with their main camp and then got called back a little bit later in the season. And then it was right before playoffs where they had to trim the roster to two goalies. So I was the odd man out there, and went home to go to New Jersey. And the next day, Carolina needed a goalie in Binghamton, so I got the call pretty early, and I said I was in Binghamton, but I wasn't, and I just had to drive very fast and barely made the game on time. But I got in, and it was against Binghamton, which was cool, and played okay. Fumbled the bag a little bit, didn't get the win, but good experience. Made some great saves. Definitely a learning experience. Funny Merkel was on your episode last, and I remember this moment, like it was yesterday. I saw him coming down the whole rink, and I knew exactly where he was shooting, and I was like, all right, I got this. I'm just putting it right in my glove, and for some reason I was just off by like an inch or two, and just missed it. I was like, what? But he's a great shooter, great guy, and it's bittersweet to give one up in the probably definitely one I could have had and could have turned the game around. But good to see a goal for him and the boys, and got to see Yatesy and all the classics and Jurich, and they were all moving and buzzing, and it was good. It was good.
Right. Speaking of Merkel, real quick. So yes, he was on the episode 2 weeks ago. Um, and I was actually ragging on him because I was like, dude, you played in Danville. You played 37 games and you ended with 3 points. Like, I know you're a defenseman, but that's horrible. And I was just ragging on him the whole time. Well, this year, obviously, stuff went down in Binghamton. That's history. We'll move on from there. But he joins Elmira, and the guy has 3 points in 2 games. And I was like, it took you 37 games in Danville, but it took you 2 games in Elmira. Show me the math. Something is not mathing up.
Must be the jerseys. Must be the Elmira juice or something up there. I don't know.
That's what I said, man. I was like, man, there's just something about that orange jersey. I guess I don't know.
No, he's a great guy. I know he puts the work in too, so it's great to see all these guys get rewarded and the call ups and the points and just sticking around. And you could tell we all love it too. I'm sure we could be doing 100 other things, and for some reason, I still just it's hard to give it up. I'm checking transactions and I can't even go over there. I'm over here and I'm still always looking and always thinking about, how I could get back in. So I think that's my goal now is to just focus, these last couple months and train myself and getting a lot of games, getting a lot of practices, but my goal is to definitely, come back to ice hockey in the States, and join a team and, be there in any kind of role. But I'm pretty confident lately that I've taken my game into a little bit of a cleaner level, and I could definitely stick around and help a team win or, help a team get better during the season, whatever role that is. So I definitely don't want to give it up either. So that's where I'm at.
All right, yeah, that was actually my next question. I know you're doing inline right now. Um, so I'm assuming that you love both sports, obviously, because you wouldn't be doing inline if you didn't love it, right? Um, is there one that you prefer a little more than the other?
I was just talking to the other goalie about that today, because with inline hockey, for those who don't know, it's 4-on-4 instead of 5-on-5, and there's no offsides, there's no icing, so it's basically just you can't be as physical as ice hockey. There's no open ice hitting, but they let a lot of the board play go on the side, and you can be physical, in the corners, but you don't see guys, lighting people up and dropping the mitts in this. It's a way cleaner, faster style, but it's like kind of like basketball where it's like a lot of cycling and coming back and waiting for that kind of perfect, soccer kind of feed. And a lot of the rinks are smaller too. So the action's right on top of you and with no offsides, no icing, just guys, aren't hanging, but you'll have one guy far to bring the defenseman back, and then that gives the other three guys room to break out a bit. And you got the defenseman has to join too because if he just stays back, you're basically just letting one or two guys try to do everything. So it definitely opens up the game. It feels like one of those open ice hockey games where there's just back and forth action. But it's a beautiful game roller. One of the differences I noticed when I first got out there was as a goalie, I'm sure a lot of players are sweating out there, especially goalies, and if your crease gets wet and your wheels get wet, that's it basically, and that's like when I first got out here and I played my first game, I was like, wow, why did I get into this? Like I can't even stand anymore. But I
Right.
made some gear modifications and try to, now I have to keep a towel on the court and always like every whistle, like wiping my mask down and hurry up, wipe it because they don't give you any time. And it's just like, oh boy. So I've been trying to manage the sweat a little bit better and to wear some certain, materials that keep it in. And it's
Mhm.
gotten much better. So if you take away the water part, roller hockey to me is just an amazing sport. It's fast, it's fun, just great action. And then ice hockey is just very similar. It's fast, it's good hockey, it's on ice, so it's a little different. And I think a lot of goalies get in trouble on ice because they are taught from a young age, or maybe they get a little desperate and they have to slide and they get a little out of position. But roller hockey teaches you to, get to your spots on your feet. So I think it helps me and other goalies, be a better skater because when you get to the ice, you're able to, get to your spots without oversliding or sliding, and not a lot of goals happen in roller hockey because of like, oh, I didn't slide. Like if this was ice, that would have been a save. Like it's a lot of the similar movements, and I think it just kind of helps, expand a goaltender's game as well and helps skating. So I think that's where I was able to come back to ice hockey and realize, wow, you could play goalie and you don't have to, slide around. Like you can get there on your feet, get
True.
set, drop, and make your save, and recover well. So I think that's pretty nice too. It helped me in a couple different ways.
Absolutely. And I know that you said, you know, the goal eventually is to come back to the States and play hockey again. Um, would you prefer to play in the Fed or the SP, or does it not matter?
Anywhere I'd love to play. I think it would be, best for me to get games anywhere that I can. So maybe that's starting with the Fed, but I played with guys that are doing great in the SP and guys that are doing great in the Coast, and these summer skates I do are with pretty much guys SP or Coast and up, and they're always inviting me back. A lot of D1 guys, Hobie Baker finalists, and these guys love having me. So I figured it's not just because they want me; it's because I think I challenge them and they challenge me too. So I think it's good for me to just get to where I'll be able to help a team develop, put my time in and help those players develop as well, and then just wherever I'm going to get the most games, and where it's not like if you have one bad game you're out of there. Like I
Mhm.
just want to be in a situation where the team trusts me and I can be called upon, and obviously I got to earn everything, and come to work every day ready to go and spend the extra time before and after. But I
Mhm.
think that's what a lot of teammates and coaches remember about me, is that I'm one of the harder working guys on the ice, and I'm there for the team too. So if guys need extra reps, my job is to help them, and they're helping me. So it's always a win-win, I think. But definitely want to come back and hop on a team.
Definitely. Now, obviously, I know you would want to go to a team that wants your services or needs your services that would give you games. In a perfect world, if you got to decide where you played, where would you choose to play in the Fed and the SP?
Ooh, that's a good question. Uh, I know Knoxville is, ran by one of my former coaches, Clarkey, and I thought
Mhm.
he, always came prepared. He was always ready. He was always doing what he needed to do to be, I think, one of the best coaches, and that translated to him having the best teams. And last year his team, won the Commissioner's Cup, and good to see him, get rewarded, and good to see him get promoted to Knoxville as well. And looks like they're having a good season too. And I think that would be a great, opportunity to be around somebody who I'm familiar with. But every league, every market is, top notch. I'd go anywhere, I'd play anywhere. It doesn't matter if it's the smallest rink, the biggest rink, the most attendance, the nicest jerseys, the nicest gear. None of it matters to me. I just, I want to be, in the league because it's, pro hockey, and anywhere would be great. I make the most of every opportunity, but I'm sure if you were to ask somebody, they would. A lot of the players like going to the bigger rinks or the older, higher league rinks that are now in the Fed. Um,
Mhm.
but Delaware is close to home, and I'd play there. I'd go anywhere. I went to France this year, so if there's a spot or an opportunity, I'll take it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm not trying to call teams out by no means, but I know Delaware could definitely use some help. Um, it doesn't help that their roster changes every week. They need some consistency, is what they need. Um, and then Vermilion County, them too. Their roster's changing week in, week out, and I mean, it seems like those two teams, man, they can't buy wins. But obviously, moving on to next, we're talking about next season when you want to come back and join. But I did speak with Don Kernan, commissioner of the Fed. Um, South Jersey is a go. They will have a team, not this upcoming season, probably the year after that, possibly even the year after that. Not really sure on that yet. We'll have to wait a little bit longer to get more news on the Jersey team. But
Yeah.
once South Jersey does have a team, could that be an option for you?
I would love that to be that way. I could skate with the Devils in the morning and then still make practices with the boys. But yeah, Jersey would be awesome. I'd be close to home. I'd commute or I'd live there, whatever it is. When I was playing juniors, living in New Jersey, I played in Philly, so I'd make the commute to that even. So nothing's really out of my league or out of my market. I'd drive. I'd live. If they don't want to pay, if they do want to pay, I'll do anything. But Jersey would be awesome because it'd be close. But you know, a lot of these teams, I've friends on every roster, and just being with Binghamton last year, it looks like basically 70% of the team is returners, and I got along great with all those guys, and would love to be around those guys again. But I've been on you know, players, teams from all over the league, and I think every team basically has a handful of guys that I've played with that I'd only have good things to say about, which is good. So I'd go anywhere, and I want to go anywhere, and just excited because
Just
think it'll happen.
absolutely, just in it for the experience, huh? Doesn't really matter where, you just want the experience.
Yeah,
That's fair.
that's for sure.
We are running short on time, but just a couple final closing statements. Again, if you're listening on our Apple podcast, make sure you're following us. And if you're watching us on the YouTube series, hit that red subscribe button, really helps out the channel. Is there anything that you would like to say to our listeners, Benchminer followers?
Well, not just I'm glad that you're, doing so well and people are giving you the attention that you deserve, and it's nice that you're able to turn a little hobby into a side passion here, and I'm thankful to, join you as a guest here and bring back some good memories of some of the old friends that I've made, and you know some of the craziness. I know you asked me about an experience too, and I just remembered when I was in Watertown with Carolina that game. I was around for when there was a goalie fight and coaches stuff, and we don't
Which
have to
one is
bring
the
that up.
real question?
That was that was one of the things, and we almost made the comeback too. I didn't have a good start. That was my second game in a row, and we came. I came out a little flat, maybe, and I got taken out in the second period, and the other goalie comes in. First shift, there's like a questionable hit, and just that's it. Just turned into a melee basically, and craziness. I don't know if you want to bring up the attention, but if you want, it's on YouTube, I'm sure. And that was
Oh
awesome.
yeah.
Those guys love it, and it's just a part of the game. It's for the fans. It's the heat of the moment. Nothing was luckily no one was too badly injured, and then I come right back in the game a shift later, and we ended up making it 4-3. But that would have been a wild comeback for me. But that was a crazy time.
There's been a lot of moments in Watertown, let me tell you. Well,
We
even
wore a
now,
lot of different Watertown
Columbus and
jerseys.
Carolina, huge rivalry now. So
Yeah, yeah, but it was
rivalries are getting
great.
crazy now.
That's why the fans love it. That's why the guys love it. And then it's great too because we're all friends pretty much. So it's like, oh, you'll be, mixing it up with one guy, and later on you're like messing around after, and you'll end up being friends like forever, pretty much.
Oh, exactly. Enemies on the ice, but once the game's over, everyone's going out for beer together.
Yeah, yeah, it's good.
But um, I really appreciate you coming on. I loved hearing your story, and I can't wait to get you back in the Fed or the SP so I can cover some of your games here.
That'd be awesome, man. Thank you, and thanks for having me. And just shout out to all the guys, and especially Top Line Hockey and Frankie Loftus and Ryan Murphy for having me, and these skaters that have helped me in the summer, and teams that have helped me in the past, and just keeping my resume going pretty much. So thank you to everyone. Really, I wouldn't be here without everybody. So that's what it's all about, I think.
Absolutely. Well, while you're over there in France and while you have some off time, get your highlight video together. We'll get it ready. We'll send it into the Fed, and we'll see you on the ice next season.
That sounds good. Thank you very much for having me. And, if you need another guest to fill in some space, I'm sure I could come up with something.
All right, I got you, boss. Thank you. Of
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for everything.
course.